Hello and welcome back! In today's episode, we'll be going through Teldrassil and touring the capital city Darnassus. As you can see, my Alliance character is already level 20. This is because over the last few weeks, I have recorded the Draenei starting zones ahead of schedule for Burning Crusade. I had figured since I already had the Blood Elf area recorded, why not double down and do both new areas? All this means is that we can focus on the story more than the leveling aspect of the zone. I also decided to change it up for the Alliance, and my character is a mage this time, with my friend going for a shaman. I'm the Azerothian historian, and without further ado, let's begin! We can start in Shadowglen, as if we were a brand new Night Elf. Talking to Conservator Ithilane, he explains that his purpose is to ensure the balance of nature is maintained. With a heavy spring rain, some creatures are outpacing the resources that Shadowglen can provide. The Night Saber and Thistleboar populations have grown too high. We need to thin their numbers to preserve nature's harmony. We can head towards the large treehouse and find Gishalond Windwalker next to the ramp. He came here to observe the webwood spiders in Shadowthread Cave. They are a cousin to a much smaller spider, and he believes that Teldrassil is having an effect on them to grow so large. Venom samples would be preferable for study, so he asks us to bring him some venom sacs from the spiders to the north. Heading to the entrance of the large house, we can find Methalar Staghelm. Strange news has traveled through the forest spirits. The woodland protector Tarandrella has returned. The Dryad's presence has not been felt in years. Something must be amiss if she has journeyed here. We should seek her out to the southwest. I looked it up out of curiosity, but I couldn't find any mention of Tarandrella outside of WoW Classic, so her went missing for years backstory is purely classic flavor. We can head right of the house to a little cooking station to talk to Darnassus Silvershine. A friend of hers, Ivaron, usually visits every day. He is late today, by several hours. Ivaron spends a lot of time by the spider cave, and she's worried something might have happened. We need to look for him there if we have the time. We can head just southwest of Ithilane to find Tarandrella. She's glad Methalar sent us. Something evil is brewing in Teldrassil. Nearby, you can see furbolg camps that have gone empty. The peaceful furbolgs are amassing under the name Gnarlpine. Only fell moss could have caused such a transformation. The Nells and Grelkin have infested the area and are threatening the residents. Strike them down and see if they are carrying fell moss. My friend got a head start on culling the overpopulated wildlife, but we can head up to the nearby camp and take out the Grell for their moss. After taking out the entire camp, we have our 8 fell moss. Back to Tarandrella, we hand her the moss. Her fears have been confirmed. The furbolg that used to live here must have been heavily corrupted by fell moss and joined the Gnarlpine. If we find ourselves in Dolanaar, we should seek out Othreda's Bearmantle as he shares her concerns for the forest. We quickly take out the 4 Thistleboars and 7 Night Sabers around the area. Back to Ithilane, he is satisfied with our contribution to the balance of nature. There is still work to be done, however. The younger creatures are a good start, but to keep the resources balanced, we need to also thin the numbers of the older population. Time to kill some more cats and boars. Before heading out, we can look at a large building in the central tree, Adrasil. Going up the ramp, we can find a general goods vendor and a cloth armor vendor. At the top is the priest trainer. Back to the ground level, we can find a bower, a food and drink vendor. In the back room, a leather armor vendor, a weapon vendor, and a mail armor vendor. And we can take the small ramp to the right to find the rogue trainer and the warrior trainer. Heading north from Adrasil, we can start culling the wildlife again. We take out the 7 Night Sabers and the 7 Thistleboars required. While we are out and about, we head to the cave and start taking out spiders for venom stacks. 10 sacks collected, we can head back out of the cave and to the right to find Averon. He is very happy to see us, as he's been bitten very badly by a spider called Githis the Vile. It's almost certain he's been seriously poisoned. We need to tell Darnassus, who should be able to help us. We head back to the central area and give the venom sacs to Gishalond. When he returns to Darnassus, he will compare these sacs to the other spiders to see if there's a link between the oversized spiders and the growth of Teldrassil. He would also like live specimens to study, but trying to catch a giant spider is too large of an ask. If we can find an unhatched egg, this would make it easier to contain. There is a nest at the back of the spider cave. Back to Ithilane, he is satisfied with our dedication to nature. I have a feeling they didn't try too hard with this guy's quest. We can go and let Darnassus know about Ivaron's plight. She knows an antidote for the poison, but it requires some ingredients. She needs 7 hyacinth mushrooms that grow around the trees or near the grell, 4 moon petal lilies that grow near water, and a webwood ichor from the spiders. I guess we're treating this like anti-venom instead of an antidote. We head to the Grell camp and find our mushrooms, then north of the large tree is 2 ponds that we can get the lilies. Last is going back to the spider cave, getting the ichor we need, and grabbing an egg from the nest in the back. No need to kill the mama spider, look at us respecting nature and all that. Heading back, we can give the egg to Gil Shalon first. It's not like we have a guy dying of spider venom or anything. He'll have the venom and egg transported to Darnassus to await him when his studies here are done. We've been a great help to him. He tells us that Tenoran has been asking for us. He's at the top of the treehouse. It's best we don't keep him waiting. Well, alright. I'm sure Iveron can wait a little longer for his antidote. Halfway up the tree, you can find a small room with the hunter and druid trainer inside. At the top, we can talk to Tenoran Stormgrip. He has an important task for us. It's time to seek our destiny, but before we can, it's time for a history lesson. Since Warcraft 3, the world tree Nordrassil has yet to recover after being exploded to stop the Burning Legion in Archimonde. To learn more, we need to get water from the Moonwell to the north and bring it back. Well, that kind of felt like 2 conversations were smash cut together. I feel like they could have put the state of Nordrassil into the dialogue after we get the water. Iveron has waited long enough, I suppose, so we bring the ingredients to Durania. Despite our detour, she's still impressed we got the ingredients that quickly. The antidote is ready, but it only remains viable for 5 minutes. We need to get it to him in time. I'm glad that Blizzard eventually figured out that time quests aren't really that fun and stopped doing them. 5 minutes is plenty of time when you don't have to kill anything to get there. We give Iveron the antidote, who's grateful Durania managed to make it for him. He's feeling much better, but will stay a moment until he's fully recovered, and hopefully after we've cleared a path through the spiders. Well, joke's on him. The spiders know better than to mess with us. We head over to the Moonwell and fill the vial, then head back to the top of the treehouse. Moonwells hold water from the Well of Eternity, the ancient source of magic that got corrupted by the Burning Legion and exploded a long time ago, causing the Maelstrom Whirlpool at the center of the Azeroth map. Druids take advantage of the properties, Sentinels revere them as shrines to Elune, the moon goddess of life, but all sorcery using the water is forbidden. That is why Night Elves can't be mages in Classic. We give him the water, and he tells us there is much more to be told. The task of collecting water will follow us through Teldrassil and into Darnassus. He must send us along to Korathos Moonrage and deliver the phial of water we collected. Korathos can be found at the Moonwell in Dolanaar. Follow the road south to find the town. On the way out of Shadowglen, we can talk to Porthanius. He has a package of herbs that need to be delivered to Dolanaar, but he hasn't concluded his business in Shadowglen yet. We can bring it to innkeeper Keldamir. On the way to Dolanaar, we can find Zen Foulhoof. Small rant time. Zen is a satyr. This is significant because satyrs are corrupted night elves who serve the Burning Legion. They were twisted all the way back to the War of the Ancients. They have hated and harried the night elves through history, including during the Third War in Warcraft 3. There is no way a fledgling night elf, only 5 years after that conflict, has no idea what Zen is or why he shouldn't be trusted. The fact this quest is here, and the consequences of doing it are so minor, just breaks all the narrative immersion for night elf lore. This guy, even though the night elves spared satyrs as their cousins over the years, should definitely be super dead this close to a night elf village. I will do this quest for completionist's sake, but I will still gripe about it. Rant over. Zen sees we are eager for work and always wanted a fledgling to do his bidding. He could make us very happy and give us anything we could ever dream of having, but he needs items to do so. He needs 3 owl feathers, 3 night saber fangs, and 3 webwood silk. Let's keep this exchange our little secret. See, he's not even trying to hide that he's shady. Just let me frostbolt his suspicious butt. We finally arrive at Dolanaar now. Outside the tower on the right, we can talk to Cyril Bladeleaf. She asks us if we might be heading south to Lake Alameth. Denelon has a camp at the eastern end where he is studying the plant life of Teldrassil. He requested a package of rare earths from Darnassus. We've been asked to deliver it to him. Just up the ramp, we can talk to Athredas Baremantle. Gerolas Tavaren serves as a great warden to the hibernating druids of the Talon in the Banthal Barrow den. He is to ensure their safety so the druids can fulfill their pact with Ysera. Word from Gerolas has been delayed. He asks us to go to Starbreeze village and bring back a report from Gerolas about the status of the druids of the Talon. Inside the building, on the first floor, is a food and drink vendor, a first aid trainer, and the priest trainer. Going up the spiral ramp to the second floor, we can find a trade supplies vendor and a general goods vendor. We can exit the nearby doorway and go up to the top of the tower to talk to Dolanaar Swiftroot. He was given an Emerald Dream Catcher from Garrulass. The amulet is able to siphon energy from the Emerald Dream to bestow luck on the carrier. It's still in his dresser at Starbreeze Village. The village used to be peaceful, but it has succumbed to the Furbolg aggression. He would like us to retrieve it from the overtaken village. The next task Dolanaar has for us needs to remain a secret between us, as it involves a satyr called Lord Melanas. He resides in a nearby cave called Fell Rock, where he has gathered a large group of Grell. We need to locate him and bring back his head. Excellent! Another head for our counter. Even the nature-loving elves couldn't resist a good beheading. Heading into large inn building, we can find a bower, the warrior trainer, a mail armor vendor, a weapon vendor, a leather armor vendor, the rogue trainer, and a cloth armor vendor in the main room. Taking the ramp up to the second floor, we can find innkeeper Keldamir. We give him the delivery from Shadowglen. He's disappointed that Portanius couldn't come, but is glad his herbs made it. Since we are here, he invites us to take rest while we are here to keep up our strength and spirits. There wasn't anything on the third floor. Heading outside the building at the southeast corner is the hunter trainer and pet trainer. Nearby is a small house with a herbalism trainer and alchemy trainer. And just south of this house is the cooking trainer and cooking supplies vendor. We can talk to Zarin, the cook, who tells us that night elves used to be called the Kaldorai, or Children of the Stars. Learning the past is important, and we should listen well. The Kaldorai take pride in their harmonious relationship with nature. They only take what is necessary and return in kind. This is the balance. We can bring him exactly 7 spider legs, and he will teach us how to cook them. South of the inn, you can find the Moonwell, with the druid trainer next to it. We can talk to Korathus Moonrage here. We hand him the water vessel, and he immediately knows that Teneron sent us. There seems to be some kind of time crunch going on to collect these vials, though no one seems to want to elaborate why we have much to do and little time to do it. The druids of Darnassus use the water of the Moonwells, and they must be replenished from time to time. Using the files we are given, we can collect it. Our next Moonwell to get water from is the one outside of Starbreeze Village. After we have done so, he will continue our history lesson. We can head over to Starbreeze Village, taking out wildlife as we go for Zen. We grab the water from the Moonwell outside the village, then head in to find Garrulass on the second floor of the first building. He doesn't look like he's had a great time. He tells us the Gnarlpine tribe has been corrupted. You know, this information we already knew since the third quest of the zone. He was ambushed as he left for the Barrow Den, and they pillaged Starbreeze. Ursal the Mauler is using the Felmoss to drive them mad. He needs us to bring this news to Athradas, as the Gnarlpine seem to be headed to the Barrow Dens. In a small house to the east, you can find the dresser with the Dreamcatcher in it. Heading back to Dolanaar, we can give the filled file to Korathus. After the Battle of Mount Hyjal, the Night Elves were without direction as losing Nordrassil cost them their immortality. It was during this uncertain time that Illidan was freed from his prison and Malfurion disappeared. The next Moonwell is southeast of Darnassus, on the shores of the pools of Arlithrian. Sentinels are having trouble patrolling the area due to the increasing Furbolg attacks. We head back to Arthurdes, who is very concerned about this news. I guess he's the only one who didn't hear about the Furbolg. The Gnarlpines seem to have already reached the Barrow Den. If we can't aid them, the slumbering druids could be trapped in the Emerald Dream for eternity. We need to gather the relics of awakening so the druid's slumber can be broken. These are the Ravenclaw Talisman, the Blackfeather Quill, the Sapphire of Sky, and the Ruin of Nesting. These will be in chests throughout the Barrow Den. To the top of the tower, and we give Dolanaar his Dreamcatcher. He's happy to see it returned, as it is a rare gift. After looking it over, he finds that the emerald in the Dreamcatcher is missing. There is rumors of a band of Furbolgs to the north. Their leader, Ferocitas, the Dream Eater, has been seen with a green glowing necklace. He most likely stole the emerald during the pillaging of Starbreeze. He wants us to retrieve the gem from the Furbolgs and takes him out while we're there. We go east towards the Furbolg camp past Starbreeze and finally finish the first collection of owl feathers for Zen. We get to the camp and start taking out mystics. Ferocitas is in the middle of the camp. Taking him down, we can find a Gnarlpine pendant and take out the emerald we're looking for. We get the rest of the mystics, then head back to Dolanaar. We give Dolanaar the emerald we retrieved and he can repair his Dreamcatcher. We can now go south and give Denelan the rare earth he ordered. He hopes it's still fresh, which makes me question how earth can be stale. He puts the earth in the planter next to him. The Timberlings in Teldrassil are elementals of nature. They reflect the natural order of flora and fauna in the tree. It is disturbing to see how angry they are. Denolan believes the problem is in the soil. He would like to try some nurturing techniques on timberling seeds, and would like us to collect some from around the lake. Small timberlings are sprouting around the lake and are beyond help. We should clear them before they can grow too large and cause trouble. Well, no time like the present for a stroll around the lake. The sprouts are easy to find, and the seeds drop from the timberlings. While circling the lake, I find the last Night Stalker fang I need for Zen. We get our 8 timberling seeds first from the mobs, then finish finding the 12 sprouts before heading back to Denolan. We hand him the 8 seeds and he will plant them in a special soil he prepared. He believes the seeds will sprout into more docile timberlings. He asks us to take a seed to Relian Greenspire in Darnassus. The druid is interested in Denolan's work and has ideas himself about the aggressive timberlings. He'll appreciate a seed to work with. We can give Denolan the 12 sprouts as well. They seem to be spreading at a dangerous rate, and he hopes he can solve the riddle of the spreading taint. We can head north of Dolanaar now and into the Fell Rock Cave. At the back is Lord Melanas, the satyr they want dead, as well as a rare imp Thregal. We can collect Melanas's head, count 32, and head back to town. We can give the head to Talonkai, who thanks us for clearing up the embarrassment. Not too concerned about Zen though, are you? This guy is just all around an incompetent, arrogant leader. We can talk to Moon Priestess Amara, who patrols the West Road. There have been reports from travelers between Dolanaar and Darnassus about attacks from the Gnarlpine Furbolgs. We can't allow them to continue terrorizing people. We need to clear out the Furbolg ambushers. We quickly take them out to the west, then head back to Amara. She salutes our efforts to protect the people. We can now head into the Banthal Barrow den. Heading down, we can take a bridge to a small room for the first item we need, the Black Feather Quill. Across the next nearby bridge is the Ruin of Nesting. We head down, around, and underneath the 2 bridges, following the path to another bridge where we find Oben Rageclaw. The Gnarlpine Shaman have discovered a way to separate the sleeping druid's spirit from their body. His physical body has been animated and is attacking people in the den. His spirit is now trapped in the Emerald Dream. We need to find a voodoo charm from a shaman that was used to perform the ritual. We can head down, around, and underneath the single bridge to find a small room with a sapphire sky. We can head back north and down another passage to the lowest area. We can run up to the central platform and take the right bridge, follow around to the room with the balcony on it for the last item of the Ravenclaw Talisman. We run around the tunnels until we find a shaman charm, then return to Oben. We give him the charm and he can sense a vile aura emanating from it. What he needs us to do is find his soulless body, kill it, and then use the voodoo charm on it. This will free his spirit from the Emerald Dream, presumably. We head down to the lowest pit again, find Rageclaw's body patrolling it, take him down, and use the charm on it. While doing this did release his body from the control of the Furbolg, his spirit will now forever wander the Emerald Dream, which I will point out is different from the afterlife. Dude is just a ghost now. He also manages to give us a physical reward, I guess from the pile of bones he's standing on. Back to Dolanaar, we can give the relics to Athradas, who mentions the Druids of the Talon have also now been kidnapped from the Barrow Dens. We managed to get these relics just in time, I guess, though there was never a time limit. For the ritual to awaken the Druids to work, we need to kill the leader of the Gnarlpine, whose sheer presence blocks the ritual, or will be used as fuel for it, it's unclear. The leader is called Ursal the Mauler, and he's at Gnarlpine Hold in the southwest corner of the area. We trail southwest, taking out spiders for the 2 quests we have. I end up getting the 7 small spider legs before getting the 3 web-webbed spider silk. We can find a strange purple plant on the way to the Gnarlpine area. It has a large, glowing fruit that we can take back to Denolan to study. Once you get all the way to the southwest corner, you can find the kidnapped druids of the Talon we are looking for. Nearby is Ursal. We take him down, sadly with no head this time, and free the druids. We can head north from here and fill the phial from the Moonwell at the pools of Arlithrian. Back to Dolanaar, we give the filled flask to Korathas, who tells us that at first the reports of Furbolgs were dismissed, as who would believe the peace-loving Furbolgs would turn to mindless rage. With Malfurion missing, Archdruid Fandrel Staghelm took over leading the druids, convincing the Circle of Ancients that it was time for the Night Elves to rebuild and regain their immortality. With the Circle's approval, Staghelm grew Teldrassil, a new world tree. All the plans Staghelm made for the world tree had borne fruit, but there is one problem that all of the troubles from Teldrassil can be attributed to. In order to get the next history lesson, we need to visit the last moon well in the Oracle Glade to the northwest. This is the first and most powerful well. We can give the Spider Lakes to Zarin, who wants us to develop an understanding and empathy for the forests. We should remember we are as part of the balance and should strive to keep it intact even in troubled times. We can let Arthrodus know we took out Ursal. We have proven ourselves a powerful mage, and our path of honor will find us great glory in the world. Time to squander all of that goodwill by giving animal parts to Zen. Again, why has no one murdered this man? He's surprised we actually went through with it. Even he knows we should know better. After handing that quest in, the citizens of Dolanaar now have a quest. The council instantly found out about the whole Zen thing, which I take to mean the Night Elves keep him alive just to teach baby Night Elves stranger danger. We need to redeem ourselves if we want to remain a friend of Teldrassil. Fell cones fall from the trees here, and they are corrupted, which speaks way more to the state of Teldrassil. We need to bring some to Zen as basically a prank. We quickly go find 3 cones around the trees and bring them to Zen, who foolishly believes they are a snack. Who eats pine cones, let alone cones that belch green smoke? They turn him into a frog. I guess mass slaughter of wildlife can be forgiven by playing a prank any mage can pull off with polymorph. We head south and give Denalan the fruit we found. The fruit is exotic, perhaps from far away. He says perhaps as far as Azeroth, which doesn't make any sense because Azeroth is the name of the planet. It would be weirder if it was so alien it didn't come from Azeroth. I have a feeling Blizzard meant to put Eastern Kingdoms here as the furthest landmass from Teldrassil. Anyway, the fruit has reacted strangely to the soil. He wants to study it further. He takes the seeds out of the fruit and puts them in the planter with the rare earth we brought a while ago. The seeds spawn boglings who seem very passionate about violence. We can go to the northwest Oracle Glade now, where we find Sentinel Arinia Cloudsbreak, next to the Moonwell. She was dispatched here with her unit to protect the Oracle Glade from harpies, which is weird since why are there harpies this far away from Stone Talon Peak? A runner attempted to go to Darnassus with a report, but was attacked and killed by the harpies. We need to head to their nest and collect belts, so close to a head increase. We can fill the file at the Moonwell before heading to the harpy camp. Continuing northwest, we can find another purple plant. This one has a shimmering frond that we can take to Denalan to study. We can collect the 6 belts from the harpies before going to the furthest northwest corner to find a Night Stalker called Mist. This is an escort quest, and my friend accepts it before I can read it, so I quickly pull it up as we run the cat back to Arinia. Mist is badly wounded, with lacerations along her back and stomach. She wishes to follow us, so we should escort her to safety. This escort is great, since the cat will follow you and keep pace with your running. Arinia is very happy to see Mist, who was considered lost to the harpies. We can give her the belts we collected, and she's impressed with how quickly we gather these. Arinia wishes we could stay to assist her with keeping the harpies at bay, but knows we are meant for greater tasks ahead. The Oracle Tree has shed some bark, so it must have a task for us to complete. She's also very grateful for us for returning Mist, her faithful companion, and have her eternal gratitude. With the harpies dealt with, the forest feels much calmer. She feared sending another messenger, but knows we can get the message to the Archdruid safely. We need to bring the piece of the Oracle Tree bark to Archdruid Fandral in Darnassus. We can head back to Dolanaar first. Along the way, I find a small house along the road, which has a leatherworking trainer inside and a skinning trainer next to it. We give the filled file to Korathas, who tells us that the Oracle Tree and the Archdruid are carefully monitoring the growth of Teldrassil. Although there is now a World Tree, the Night Elves' immortality has not been restored. With Teldrassil grown, Fandral approached the dragons for their blessing, as they had done for Nordrassil. Nosdormu, the Dragon Lord of the Bronze Flight and Time, refused his blessing, chiding Fandral for his arrogance. Alexstrasza agreed and also refused her blessing. Without her blessing, the growth of Teldrassil has been flawed and unpredictable. Strange beasts have appeared rising from the ground of the tree, and the Furbolg have become crazed. We can only hope that the Archdruid can find a solution to these problems. We need to deliver all the water we have collected to Darnassus. With multiple quests to Darnassus, now would be a good time to go to the capital city and take a tour. As we come through the main entrance, you can see just how much the Night Elves have built in the last 5 years. In Warcraft 3, the Night Elves used ancients that can move around as their buildings, so it's cool to see actual stationary structures reminiscent of the ruins you can find all over the world. Speaking of ancients, there is an Ancient of War near the main road. This is one of the buildings in Warcraft 3, and I like that they use them as a sort of large guard unit. Just off the road to the left, you can find a general goods vendor, an owl pet seller, and a food and drink vendor. We can head to the main stone structure that serves as a crossroads to the rest of the city sections and find the warrior trainer. To the right of the large ramp is more warrior trainers and the battleground NPCs. On the other side is a weapon merchant, an armor merchant that sells all armor types, a forge, which is curious as Teldrassil doesn't have any mining nodes, and the weapon master. I learned daggers here, just in case. We can head north first to the Craftsman's Terrace. This city doesn't have any unique signs either. I guess the orcs just felt like being unique. All the buildings here are wood, and I would have liked to see more of the stone buildings, but I guess it's harder to get stone in a tree than wood. We can find the tailoring trainer and supplies on the first floor of the first building we can get into from the main road on the right. On the second floor is the leatherworking trainer, the skinning trainer, and the leatherworking supplies. There wasn't anything in the first wooden building, but it has a bridge that leads to the second floor of the building across the street where the guild master and tavern vendor is. Across the street from the tailoring building is the inn that has a single open room. These outer buildings are absolutely massive, but they never model the inside of them, which is a shame. On the first floor of the small building next to the tailoring, we can find a trade goods vendor who sells some limited recipes. My mage has jewel crafting, so I pick up this recipe for later. There was a lot of space that wasn't being used, so if I don't mention the second floor of a building, it means there wasn't anything up there. I did check. In the next small building going west, we can find the enchanting trainer and the enchanting supplies on the first floor. We can head a little south into the circular area of buildings. The first building going counterclockwise has the first aid trainer on the first floor. The second building was empty. The third building has the cooking trainer and cooking vendor on the first floor. The fourth building was empty. The last building has some Argent Dawn agents on the second floor, the organization that is leading efforts in the Plague Lands in the Eastern Kingdoms. We can talk to Argent Guard Menados, who tells us that members of the Twilight's Hammer cult, empowered by the old gods, strive to bring back their patrons and spread death and terror across the world. He believes they have allied with the Naga and Black Phantom Deeps in Ashenvale. He wants us to assault them and bring back pendants as proof of our efforts to quell the cult. We can talk to Dawn Watcher Shadelass nearby, who tells us about the rumor that the Naga and the Twilight's Hammer have made an alliance in Black Fathom. His role is to collect as much information as he can so he can direct their efforts where it is needed. The scout he sent to Black Fathom, Argent Guard Theldred, hasn't reported back. We need to find him. On the first floor of this building is the alchemy trainer and the alchemy supplies vendor. We can head west from the Craftsman's Terrace, finding a food and drink vendor along the road, and enter the Cenarian Enclave. Next to the bridge, we can talk to Relian Greenspire and give him the Timberling seed. He's been wanting to grow one to help Denelyn's studies, but he's discovered a corruption has grown in the Timberlings and parents pass it on to their children. He hopes Denelyn can find a cure for them. He's trying to find the source of the corruption in the Timberlings, but in the meantime, to keep Teldrassil safe, we need to take out the ones beyond help. The Timberlings at the Northern Lake are the worst off and need to be removed. We need to get 5 tumors from the Timberlings wandering Wellspring Lake. Heading north, the building on the right has the cat saber mounts the Night Elves use in front of it. Heading up the ramps, we can find a hunter trainer and a stable master. If we follow the spiral ramp all the way to the top, we find another hunter trainer and the pet trainer. This ramp was attached to another one, and if we follow the second ramp all the way to the top, we find yet another hunter trainer. We can move to the next building going counterclockwise and find the druid trainer and a reagent vendor on the first floor. The second floor has another druid trainer. At the top of the tower, we can find Fandral Staghelm. He seems very busy, in a CEO, don't waste my time on simple matters kind of way. We can give him the filled vial, and he seems dissatisfied with the time it took to get. Look, buddy, I didn't ask for a history lesson looped into water collection. Blame the guys you asked for the water from. He doesn't seem too happy being in charge of Teldrassil, despite being the one who grew it in the first place. I guess all the corruption problems would be his fault as the person who decided to grow a new world tree without the blessings. We can hand him the bark we got from the Oracle Tree. He had wondered why the Oracle Tree hadn't communicated with him for a while. One problem fixed, another crops up. He fears he will never finish with Teldrassil and return the Night Elves' immortality. I suppose this is a race that, in the last few years, had to grapple with the fact that they will now grow old and die after being alive for thousands of years. Since we seem to be in the business of delivering messages, he wants us to deliver a message to the Grove of the Ancients in Darkshore. We need to give it to Onu, the Ancient of Lore, which is another building type from Warcraft 3. We can find a stone opening in the next tree that leads down. At the bottom, we can find the rogue trainers. Up on the last stump is the poison supplies vendor. It's curious to put the rogue faction in the same area as the leader of the city, but I guess they're like the rogues in Stormwind, a kind of spy organization that works for the leader. We can take the bridges south and find the bank on the central island. I like it the bank vaults look like little birdhouses, and all the bank riches are just piled behind them in the open. West of the bank is a large purple building. This is the portal to the base of the tree, and we can go through it later. To the left of this portal is Sister Aquinae. A great creature of the forest is in need. We need to seek out Priestess Amura inside of the Temple of the Moon, and she will explain further. We can head south now to the Temple of the Moon, a very large stone structure. I see now where all the masonry work went. To the right, in front of the West Tower, we can find a reagent vendor. In the West Wing, we can find Chief Archaeologist Grey Whisker. He's happy to meet someone interested in archaeology. Much of the Alliance dismisses their hobby, but discoveries in Khazmodan has proven that a great and powerful force threatens Azeroth. He's worried about the crew he sent to Darkshore as they haven't sent word in weeks. We need to search for them in Auberdine. In the East Tower, we can find the Herbalism Trainer and the Herbalism Supplies Vendor. We can now enter the main building where, in the center of the first floor, there is a beautiful Fountain of Elune. There are priest trainers around the area, as well as the portal trainer for mages at level 40. We can head to the second floor and talk to Priestess Amura. Lady Sathra was once beloved of Elune. Her silk threads spun silver in the moonlight, catching the evening mist. This dew had healing properties and was kept in the temple. Lately, Sathra has fallen to madness and threatens her children. We need to find her nested along the northern border of Teldrassil and end her suffering, bringing back her silvery spinnerets. We can head to the northern section and find more priest trainers and Tharanda Whisperwind. Since I'm a Draenei, we can get the quest from Emissary Velustra. She wants us to travel to Astronar and Ashenvale. We need to speak to Vindicator Palais when we arrive and lend a hand where we can. Just to give some context, Tharanda Whisperwind is the leader of the Night Elves in the sense that she is the highest authority, but she ruled together with Malfurion since the War of the Ancients. Think of it like Tharanda is the spiritual leader as she heads the Priestesses of Elune and used to lead the Sentinels. She takes care of healing and blessing the people as well as maintaining the Moonwells. Malfurion is the leader of the Druids, maintaining nature's balance and being more involved in the physical needs of the people, such as food, building materials, and respecting the lands they use. With Malfurion missing, Fandral took over this section of ruling, so while Tharanda is the ultimate authority, Fandral is in charge of maintaining Teldrassil and the other Night Elf lands with the aid of the priestesses. We can take the southeast pass from the bank and find a pier with a fishing trainer, a fish vendor, and a fishing supplies vendor. We can keep following the bridges and enter the tradesman's terrace. We can find Watcher Calvaria on the first floor of the right building. She can toggle on hardcore mode. The building to the left has 2 auctioneers on the first and second floor, though I don't know why you'd run to the second floor for that. They must not get much business. Across the road is a general goods vendor. On the second floor is a bag vendor. In the next building following the road is a mason staff vendor, a blade vendor, and an axe vendor on the first floor. On the second floor is a weapon merchant selling all types of weapons. In the next building we find a bow merchant on the first floor and a thrown weapon merchant on the second. The next building south has a cloth armor vendor on the first floor and a 2-handed weapon merchant on the second. The next building has a mail armor vendor on the first floor, a shield vendor on the second floor, and a bridge across the road to an empty room. It has a sign on the bridge reading Sentinel's Bunkhouse, so maybe this was supposed to have some Sentinel NPCs in it. The last large building has a staff vendor and a robe vendor in the small room at the bottom. In the last stump building, there is a leather armor vendor. You can also find a ramp that brings you to the temple instead of having to take the main path from the bank. Tour complete, we can head out to Teldrassil for our last few quests. On the way out, I actually noticed you can get on top of the main gate of Darnassus. There's nothing up here, but it's still cool we can get up here. We head to the lake and start taking out timberlings for tumors. There was supposed to be a rare mob here with a quest, like the Silithid in the Barrens, but he wasn't available, so I put what his quest does here. When you kill Black Moss, he drops a moss-twined heart. We can bring it to Denolan to study the still-beating moss heart. He's alarmed with the moss and lets us know he will be looking into the nature of it. He has a roleplay segment after that, where he discovers that the heart looks like a seed under all the moss. This leads to another quest. Denolan removed the moss, but the heart remains tainted. We can try planting it in the nutritive soil in his planter to attempt to cleanse it. The heart digs itself in and quickly wriggles back out, cleansed. We can get a Timberling heart as a reward that is a one-time guardian pet. So Denolan at least finds a solution to cleanse the seeds of the Timberlings. We get the 5 tumors we need and head north. Sathra has a few places she can be, but we find her pretty quickly. We collect the spinnerets and head back to the city. Relian takes the tumors we found for him and says they are filled with a poison that must be cleansed. He will dispose of them. He received word from Dolanaar that he might have discovered the cause of the tumors. We need to go speak with him as Dolanaar needs our help. We can talk to Amura and give her the spinnerets. She hopes to offer them to Elune so that she might bless Sathra and be reborn in peace. The forest will mourn her loss, but it had to be done. We need to take the spinnerets and offer them to Elune to lay Sathra to rest. In the central fountain, we need to lay the spinnerets in the holy water to purify and cleanse the corruption. When we place the spinnerets in the water, the spirit of Sathra appears and wanders the water freed of the madness. While this is a loss for the forest, this is the only way for Sathra to be reborn of the madness. We can head back to Dolanaar now and give him the shimmering frond we found. Dolanaar hasn't seen this plant since he traveled to the Swamp of Sorrows decades ago. There is a test he would like to perform with this frond. He plants the frond and some sprout from the planter. We can pick some up, and they act as a small heal that requires level 5 that you can use on your target. It's nice to know some of the mutated flora is still beneficial. Dolanaar has discovered something quite disturbing. In a cave nearby along the lake, there is a timberling called Oakenscowl spreading the corruption across the lake. He is being poisoned by a gargantuan tumor. We need to hunt him down and return the tumor to stop the corruption. He's in a cave at the western side of the lake. We take him down and grab the tumor. Oakenscowl was once a grand leader among the timberlings, but corruption does not discriminate between social ranks. He will need to study the large tumor to find out what is plaguing the timberlings. We can head back to the city now and use the portal to get down to Rethrian village at the base of the tree. There is a fishing supplies vendor here with a couple of cooking recipes and a fishing trainer at the shore. The building here looks to be a hatchery for the hippogriffs. You can even see some of the baby birds here. There is a Cenarian lore keeper on the second floor, but we can't talk to her. The pier here is the boat from Darkshore, which is how we got here from Azure Mist. I got the flight point in Aberdeen on the way, so we can fly to Darkshore and say goodbye to Teldrassil. I've thought about how I would like to tackle the Alliance areas as they're more spread out, and I decided to finish the Night Elf areas before moving on to the Eastern Kingdoms, so in the next episode, we will see Darkshore. See you there! Thank you all so much for watching my videos. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to support my channel. I decided to finish Darkshore first, as it's a bit of a trek to get to Ironforge, so instead of by level, I'm going to do the opening areas by race. It's hard to believe it was only 3 months ago during my Christmas break that I decided to try my hand at a YouTube series with 0 editing experience, and I'm almost at 100 subscribers already. I appreciate each and every one of you that decided my series was worth continuing to watch. I'm not sure what I'll do yet, but I really want to celebrate that milestone with all of you. Comment any suggestions below, and I'll see you in the next episode.